Welcome back to CEEN Caribbean News. It's now time to go in depth. Tuesday, July 12 will be observed as World Population Day. The focus for this year's observation is on the risks facing teenage girls under the theme Investing in Teenage Girls. World Population Day 2016 will also be used to raise awareness of important population and development issues. As Jamaica braces for the day's observation, we've been joined by Betty and Blaine to discuss the challenges of teenage girls in that country and how they can be actively addressed. Welcome to the program, Ms. Blaine.
Thank you, Candice. Nice to be on.
Good having you. Now, what are the primary challenges faced by teenage girls in Jamaica?
What a big question. It's a big question because the youth in general, not just teenagers, the youth population, which is close to 1 million persons in the country, our youth in general face, I think, big problems, and including, of course, the teenage population. But I just want to say that when we talk about young people in Jamaica, it is really a significant proportion of our population that are facing all kinds of challenges. But I know you're focusing on the teenagers, and I'm very grateful that you're doing that, because usually we don't talk about Jamaican teens and we don't separate them out, and I think we should. Now, one of the big problems that I see as an advocate for children is that our teenagers, most of them enrolled in high school, there are issues that have to do with their education. And one of the things that concerns me greatly, Candice, is the number of young people, teenagers graduating from our high schools at either many of them with no certification. Some of them are leaving with serious remedial issues even after 5 years of high school. And then, of course, what happens is that many of them, the girls, become baby mothers, and the young men become baby fathers. And a lot of them are leave school without the tools and the skills and the training, the educational background to continue to be able either to go on to higher education or to begin to seek employment. So one of the big areas I see affecting teenagers in Jamaica is the whole issue of the kind of undereducation and the lack of opportunities for our young people who leave high school. I'm very distressed in particular about our young girls who are in fact leaving high schools, many of them, and there are no job opportunities for them. And so what I see happening is that many of them are getting involved with, getting into relationships. Many of them become young mothers, and it is an intergenerational cycle of poverty that we've not been able to break. Of course, you know that my big thing is the whole problem of family life in Jamaica. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm saying now about what's happening with the teenagers as far as their education is concerned is all bound up in this problem of what happened to them earlier on in life. And I'm talking about early childhood and the problem of poor family life and poor parenting, and it becomes, it's a kind of trajectory or a trend that tends to follow the children right through to adulthood. So I know I've said a lot, but the problem of the undereducation and the lack of opportunities for our teenagers leaving high school is one of the things that's very distressing to me. In addition to many other issues, and all of them are connected, all of the issues of the young people, not, just the emotional problems, the problems of suicide. You know that they say that teenage suicide is increasing in Jamaica. That's a real problem. Teenage pregnancy is a huge issue. But everything is bound up in this problem of what happens in early childhood and the whole problem of family life in Jamaica.
Okay, so these challenges seem to spell bad news for the future, but I want you to outline some of the results when these challenges are not effectively addressed early on.
Well, we see the results in our society. The crime, for example, in Jamaican society is directly linked to the issues that have to do with our children and youth, many of them starting from early childhood. I like to say that violence doesn't fall out of the sky. It always starts in early childhood. And so some of the manifestations that we see, when you consider, for example, Candice, how many young people we hear now are involved in the lotto scam down in the West, you recognize that this is as a result of, the lack of opportunities, the poor parenting, what happens to these young people that are, that are leaving school and are not getting the kind of post-secondary opportunities that they ought to get. It's a huge, huge problem. You ask what's the impact? It is all of the things I've mentioned have serious impacts on the society. When we look at teenage pregnancy, for example, I mean, I keep telling the young people when I move across Jamaica, talking to them, teenagers, I talk to teenagers a lot, and I say to them, look, one of the worst things that could happen to you as a teenager is if you get pregnant as a teenager. And I say to the boys the same thing. If you become a baby father as a teenage boy, you are, and I tell the kids as plainly as I can, that you're condemning yourselves to a life of poverty. And whenever I say that they pay attention, which is what I want to get their attention, because the message I'm trying to put out to the young people is, look, try to certainly stay in school, because, we have a lot of them dropping out of school, the boys especially. Stay in school, finish your high school education, try as best as you can to find some kind of gainful activity, whether it's employment, you're going to do a trade, whatever, go on to higher education, get a good job, and then plan your family. I try to preach that to them because Jamaica has been suffering from an intergenerational cycle of poverty. And what is happening, Candice, is that, the mother had the child when she was 18, and then her daughter comes, and this is the example that she's seen. She gets pregnant at a young age, and it's getting younger and younger, and it is no longer uncommon for you to go to like a Jubilee Hospital or any place else where children are being born, babies, and you'll see that teenagers are having baby at younger and younger ages, 12 years old, 13, 14. I see them, I meet them and I talk to them. And that you asked again the impact, how is all of that, this impacting the wider society? It's impacting the wider Jamaican society through the kinds of, juvenile delinquency that we see, the crimes that we see. A lot of the crimes are perpetrated by young people. And again, all I can say, Candice, is that we have to go back to family life. My motto is that when you fix family, you fix Jamaica. And I believe we have to really, really begin to look at how do we begin to reconstruct family life so that the children have a fighting chance. The other thing that distresses me, Candice, as we look at teenagers in Jamaica, is that when you talk to them, and I believe a survey was done not too long ago, 82% of the young people say that their ambition is to leave Jamaica. Now, that to me is very distressing. When the youth want to leave the country, and that high percentage of young people saying they don't see a future in Jamaica, they want to leave Jamaica, we have problems. So there are a myriad of problems. I believe they can be solved. I believe we have to dissect them one by one. And I certainly believe we have to focus on the youth, as your program is doing this evening. Because there's nothing wrong with the young people, They're not bad. And they're not really different from when I was a youth. It's just that the circumstances of their lives have changed. It's different. And a lot of young people are crying out for help. They are.
Now, you mentioned teenage pregnancies being a problem, and it has been for a number of years, but now we find them finding creative means of preventing pregnancy. Now, reports surfaced on Monday that teenage girls are accessing quite easily morning after pills, which is quite dangerous because the frequency with which they've been reported to be taking these pills is once per week. These pills are not recommended for at least once per month. Most pharmacists will tell you twice per year. Now, what kind of action would a child's advocate recommend to be taken against these pharmacies so that this phenomenon can stop?
Well, it's a big problem, and I'm glad you've mentioned it because we have to speak more about it. This has to become a part of our national conversation. The problem, Candice, is that our teenagers are more and more of them are becoming sexually active at earlier and earlier ages, younger ages. It's a real problem. It's a real problem. And of course, with this morning after pill, the kids believe that, look, they can just have sex and just take a pill the next morning and they'll be all right. It's very dangerous, and I just want to say, any teenagers listening to me, I really want to encourage them to stop, because it is a dangerous practice, and it's getting more and more popular, more and more teenagers. Here again is the problem. Our children are highly sexualized. We live in a highly sexualized society. I mean, there's sex all around them. I mean, you can't turn on television in Jamaica no time of the day, even when children and youth are at home, and you don't see the raw, open, either it's women half naked or whatever they're seeing. The images that our children see are about sex, are making our young people more and more, sexualized. We feed them on a steady diet of sex. And then we wonder, how is it they're having more and more sex and then taking morning after pills? Look, we've got to call our society to order. Parents have to be more alert. They must be able to communicate and should communicate with our children in such a way, in a better way, that they can begin to advise them, to counsel them about these things. I mean, I am just so concerned about the problem of teenage pregnancy, the problem of abortions, and this morning after pill. And again, it goes back to family life.
Unfortunately, Miss Blaine, we're going to have to continue our conversation at another time. We're out of time. We'll be in touch. Thank you for joining us, Miss Blaine.